At 6:47 p.m., my son-in-law slapped my daughter at my Sunday dinner table. The sound wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was worse than that. It was normal. His hand moved fast. Naomi's head turned slightly. The fork slipped from her fingers and hit the plate. And his mother, seated 2 chairs away, clapped once and said, "About time." No one screamed. No one stood up. But I did something no one in that room expected. I picked up my phone. I didn't look at Marcus. I didn't look at his mother, Sharon, who was still smiling like someone had just told a good joke. I looked at my daughter. Naomi was 31 years old. She had a master's degree in library science. She could recite poetry from memory. She made her own bread every Saturday morning. And right then, she looked like a child who'd been caught doing something wrong. Her hand went to her cheek, not to check if it was red, just to hold it, like she was keeping something in. I unlocked my phone. My hands were steady. I've had arthritis for 6 years, and sometimes I can't open a jar of pickles. But right then, my fingers worked just fine. "Mum," Naomi said. Her voice was quiet. "Don't." Marcus pushed his chair back. Not fast, slow, controlled. He stood up and adjusted his belt. He was wearing khakis and a polo shirt. He coached Little League on Saturdays. He volunteered at the food bank twice a month. People in this town loved him. "Eleanor," he said to me. "That's my name. Eleanor Pritchard. Let's all just take a breath here." I dialed 9. "Mum, please," Naomi said again. Sharon laughed. It was a short sound, cut off quick. "Oh, this is ridiculous. Naomi, tell your mother to stop being dramatic." I dialed 1. Marcus took a step toward me. "Eleanor, you're making this worse than it needs to be." I dialed 1 again. My granddaughter, Lily, was 7 years old. She was sitting across from me. She had a pink headband in her hair and mashed potatoes on her plate that she'd been pushing around for 10 minutes because she didn't like the way I made them. She was looking at me with her brown eyes, and she wasn't crying, but her face had that frozen look children get when adults start acting strange. The line rang once. "This is insane," Sharon said. She stood up now too. "You're calling the police on your own son-in-law over a little tap," the operator answered. 911, what's your emergency?" I kept my eyes on Naomi. "I need to report a domestic assault. It just happened. The victim is my daughter. We're at 1247 Oakwood Avenue in Belmont. The perpetrator is still in the home." Marcus went very still. The operator's voice was calm and professional. Female, younger than me. "Mum, are you safe right now?" "Yes." "Is the victim injured?" I looked at Naomi's face. There was a red mark forming on her left cheek, about the size of a hand. "She's been struck in the face. She's conscious and alert." "Is anyone else in immediate danger?" I looked at Lily. "There's a child present, 7 years old. She witnessed the assault." Marcus's face changed then. The calm went out of it. "Hang up the phone, Eleanor. Officers are on the way," the operator said. "Stay on the line with me. This is my house," I said to Marcus. My voice didn't shake. "You need to sit down and wait for the police to arrive." He didn't move. Sharon made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been something else. "You spiteful woman. You've always hated him, always looked for a reason." That wasn't true. I'd liked Marcus fine when Naomi first brought him home 8 years ago. He was polite. He opened doors. He asked about my late husband, Gerald, and seemed genuinely interested in the stories. He brought wine to dinner. Good wine, not the cheap kind. I'd thought Naomi had found someone solid. "Mom," the operator said. "Are you still there?" "Yes." "Can you describe the perpetrator for the responding officers?" "White male, 34 years old, 6 feet tall, brown hair. He's wearing tan pants and a blue polo shirt." I paused. "He's standing approximately 8 feet from me right now." Marcus sat down, fast, like someone had cut his strings. Sharon was still standing. "This is a family matter. You don't air family matters to strangers," the operator said. "Officers are 3 minutes out. Is the perpetrator making any threats?" "No." "Is he attempting to leave?" "No." Naomi was crying now, not sobbing, just tears running down her face while she sat completely still. Her hands were in her lap. She'd folded them together, fingers interlaced, like she was praying or trying to hold herself in one piece. "Mama," she whispered. That's what she called me when she was small. Mama, not Mum. She hadn't used that word in years. Lily said, "Grandma, what's happening?" I put one hand out toward her, palm up, but I didn't move from my chair. "Everything's all right, sweetheart. Some police officers are coming to help us." "Why?" "Because sometimes grown-ups need help too." Sharon sat back down. She picked up her water glass and took a drink, like nothing unusual was happening. "You're going to regret this," she said to me. "You think you're protecting her, but you're destroying her marriage. Do you understand that?" I didn't answer her. The operator asked if I could see the officers arriving. I stood up and walked to the front window. My dining room faces the street. It was still light out. February in North Carolina means the sun sets around 6:30, and there was that grey-blue color to everything that comes right before dark. I could see Mrs. Chen across the street bringing in her garbage cans. I could see the Ramseys' dog in their front yard. Then I saw the patrol car turn onto Oakwood Avenue. "They're here," I told the operator. "I'm going to disconnect now. The officers will take over from here. Thank you." I hung up and set my phone on the windowsill. The patrol car pulled into my driveway. No lights, no siren, just a white car with blue lettering that said Belmont Police Department. 2 officers got out. One was tall and black, maybe in his 40s. The other was shorter, Hispanic, younger. They both had their hands near their belts, but they weren't drawing weapons. They walked up my front path like they were coming to ask directions. I opened the door before they knocked. "Ma'am," the taller officer said, "I'm Officer Davis. This is Officer Martinez. We received a call about a domestic assault at this address." "Yes, I made the call. Please come in." They stepped inside. My entryway is small. There's a coat rack and a mirror and a table where I keep my keys. The officers filled the space. They had radios on their shoulders that made small static sounds. "Where is everyone?" Officer Davis asked. "In the dining room, straight back." They followed me. I heard their boots on my hardwood floor. I heard the leather of their belts creaking. When we walked into the dining room, Marcus was still sitting. Sharon had her arms crossed. Naomi was wiping her face with her napkin. Lily was watching everything with those wide eyes. Officer Davis looked at each person. His eyes stopped on Naomi. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She nodded. "Can you tell me your name?" "Naomi Fletcher." "Mrs. Fletcher. Do you need medical attention?" "No." "Can you tell me what happened here tonight?" Naomi looked at me, then at Marcus, then down at her plate. "Nothing. It was nothing." Officer Martinez was writing in a small notebook. Officer Davis kept his eyes on Naomi. "Ma'am, we received a report that you were struck. Is that accurate?" She didn't answer. Sharon said, "This is a misunderstanding. Her mother overreacted. There's no crime here." Officer Davis held up one hand. "Ma'am, I need to hear from Mrs. Fletcher." He looked back at Naomi. "Did someone hit you tonight?" The silence lasted maybe 5 seconds. It felt longer. "Yes," Naomi whispered. "Who?" She didn't look up. "My husband," Marcus said. "I barely touched her. She was being hysterical and I was trying to get her attention." "Sir, I need you to stay quiet for right now," Officer Davis said. His voice was calm but firm. Then to Naomi, "Where did he strike you?" She touched her cheek. "May I see?" Naomi lifted her face. The red mark was darker now, with the clear outline of fingers. Officer Martinez took a photograph with a small camera he pulled from his belt. The flash made Lily flinch. "Mrs. Fletcher, has your husband hit you before?" Officer Davis asked. Another silence. "You don't have to answer that," Marcus said. "Yes, sir, she does," Officer Davis said. "Ma'am?" Naomi's voice was so quiet I almost couldn't hear it. "Yes." "How many times?" "I don't know." "More than once?" "Yes." "More than 10 times?" She nodded. Officer Martinez stopped writing. He looked at Officer Davis. Something passed between them without words. "Mr. Fletcher," Officer Davis said, "I need you to stand up and turn around." "This is insane," Sharon said. "Are you really arresting him for this?" "Ma'am, please step back," Officer Martinez said to her. Marcus stood slowly. "I'm not resisting. I'm cooperating fully. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." He did. Officer Davis pulled out handcuffs. The clicking sound they made was very loud in my quiet dining room. Lily started crying then, real crying, with sound. Naomi got up and went to her, pulled her into her arms. "It's okay, baby, it's okay." But Lily was saying, "Why are they taking Daddy? What did Daddy do?" Officer Davis said, "Marcus Fletcher, you're under arrest for assault on a female. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. Do you understand these rights?" "Yes." They walked him out. Marcus didn't look at Naomi. He didn't look at Lily. He looked at me, and his expression wasn't angry. It was something else. Something like disappointment, like I'd failed a test he'd given me. Sharon followed them to the door. "I'm calling our lawyer. Don't you say a word to them, Marcus. Not one word." Then they were gone, and it was just me, Naomi, Lily, and Sharon in my dining room, with our Sunday pot roast getting cold on the table. Sharon turned to look at Naomi. "I hope you're happy. You've just destroyed your family." "Get out of my house," I said. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Get your purse and get out." Sharon's face went red. "Don't you dare speak to me that way. I'm a guest in your home. You were a guest. Now you're trespassing." She grabbed her purse from the back of her chair. "You'll regret this, Eleanor. When Naomi's living in a one-bedroom apartment and struggling to pay her bills, remember that you did this." She looked at Naomi. "And you weak, pathetic girl. You could have had everything. He gave you everything." Naomi didn't answer. She just held Lily and rocked her slowly back and forth. Sharon slammed my front door hard enough that a picture frame fell off the wall in the hallway. Then it was quiet. I sat back down at the table. My pot roast was still there. My green beans. My mashed potatoes that Lily didn't like. Everything looked normal except for the empty chair where Marcus had been sitting and the fork on Naomi's plate that was lying in gravy. "Mum," Naomi said. She wasn't crying anymore. She sounded tired. "What did you do? What needed to be done? You don't understand. You don't know what this means." "I know exactly what it means." She shook her head. "No, you don't. He's going to be so angry. He's in jail, honey. Not forever. They'll let him out. And when they do..." She stopped. She was shaking. I got up and went to her. I put my hand on her shoulder. "When they do, we'll be ready." "How? How can we be ready for Marcus when he's angry?" I didn't have an answer for that. Not yet. But I knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, it had to be better than what I'd just watched happen at my dinner table. "Let's get Lily some ice cream," I said. "Then we'll figure out the rest." Naomi looked up at me. Her eyes were red. Her cheek was swelling. "I don't know what to do. Right now. You don't have to know. Right now, you just have to breathe." So that's what we did. We breathed. We got through that moment, and then the next one, and then the one after that. And that's how it started. Officer Martinez came back 40 minutes later. He knocked softly, and when I opened the door, he had a different expression than before. Less official, more human. "Mrs. Pritchard," he said, "I need to speak with your daughter. Is now a good time?" Lily was upstairs in the guest room, watching a movie on my iPad. Naomi was still at the dining room table. She hadn't moved much. I'd brought her a cold washcloth for her face, but she'd just held it in her lap. "Come in," I said. He sat across from Naomi. He had a folder with him now, and a different notebook. "Mrs. Fletcher, I want to explain what happens from here. Is that all right?" She nodded. "Your husband has been booked into the county jail. His bail hearing will be Monday morning. He'll likely be released on bond unless the judge decides otherwise." He paused. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay tonight?" "She's staying here," I said. Officer Martinez looked at me, then back to Naomi. "That's good. I also want to make sure you're aware of your options. You can file for a domestic violence protective order. That would legally prohibit him from contacting you or coming near you. Would you like information on how to do that?" Naomi didn't answer right away. Her fingers were picking at the edge of the washcloth. "If I do that, he'll know I'm the one who did it. He already knows you told us he hit you. But a protective order is different. That's official. That's me saying he's dangerous." "Is he dangerous?" Officer Martinez asked quietly. Another silence. "Yes," Naomi whispered. He slid a paper across the table. "The courthouse opens at 8:30 Monday morning. You can go to the clerk's office on the second floor. They'll help you fill out the paperwork. There's no fee. You don't need a lawyer, though you can bring one if you want." "What if he gets out before then?" "If you're concerned about your immediate safety tonight or tomorrow, you can call 911. You can also stay somewhere he doesn't know about. He knows where my mother lives. Does he have a key to this house?" Officer Martinez looked at me. "No," I said. "And I have a deadbolt and a chain lock." "Good. Use them both." He turned back to Naomi. "I also need to ask you some questions for my report. It might be uncomfortable. If you need to take breaks, we can do that." "Okay. How long have you been married to Marcus Fletcher?" 7 years. We dated for a year before that." "When did he first become physically violent with you?" Naomi looked down. "About 6 months after we got married." "What happened?" "We were arguing about money. I'd bought new curtains for the living room without asking him first. He said I was being disrespectful. He pushed me against the wall. Did he hit you that time? Not then. That came later. When? Maybe a month after that. I'd burned dinner. Chicken. It was too dry, and he said I wasn't trying hard enough. He slapped me. Just once. Then he apologized. He cried. He said he'd never do it again. But he did. Yes. Officer Martinez wrote everything down. His handwriting was neat and small. How many times would you estimate he's hit you over the course of your marriage? I don't know. 50? Maybe more. The number hung in the air. I felt something crack open in my chest. 50 times. My daughter had been hit 50 times and I hadn't known. I'd seen her every week for Sunday dinner. I'd watched her smile and laugh and tell stories about the library where she worked. I'd helped her pick out paint colors for Lily's bedroom. And the whole time, this had been happening. Did he ever hit you in front of your daughter? Officer Martinez asked. No, never. He was always careful about that. If Lily was home, he'd wait until she was asleep, or he'd take me into the garage or the basement. Did he use weapons? His belt sometimes. Once he used a wooden spoon. Did he ever choke you? Naomi touched her throat. Twice. Did you lose consciousness? No, but I couldn't breathe for, I don't know. It felt like a long time. Officer Martinez kept writing. His face stayed neutral, but I saw his jaw tighten. Did he ever sexually assault you? He's my husband. That doesn't mean he has the right to force you. Naomi's eyes filled with tears again. I don't want to talk about that. Okay, we can come back to it if you decide you want to later. He flipped a page in his notebook. Did you ever seek medical treatment for injuries he caused? Once. 2 years ago. He'd pushed me down the stairs. I told the ER I'd tripped. They believed me. Do you remember which hospital? Belmont Regional. Did you tell anyone else about the abuse? Friends? Family? Co-workers? No. Why not? Naomi looked at me for the first time since Officer Martinez had started asking questions. Because I was ashamed. Because I thought if I just tried harder, if I could just be better, he'd stop. Because his mother said it was normal for husbands to discipline their wives. Because I didn't want anyone to know I'd failed. You didn't fail, I said. My voice came out harder than I meant it to. He failed. He's the one who broke his vows. He's the one who hurt you. Your mother's right, Officer Martinez said. None of this is your fault. He closed his notebook. I have enough for now. The district attorney's office will be in touch with you. They may have more questions. They'll also explain the court process. What happens to Marcus? Naomi asked. He'll be arraigned Monday morning. The judge will formally charge him and set his conditions of release. If he's released on bond, he'll be ordered to have no contact with you. If he violates that, he goes back to jail. And then what? Then there will be a trial. You'll likely be called to testify. Naomi closed her eyes. I can't do that. I can't stand up in court and talk about this in front of everyone. You don't have to decide that tonight. But I want you to know that you're not alone in this. There are advocates who can help you. Support groups. Counselors. He pulled out a business card. This is the number for the Domestic Violence Resource Center. They're available 24 hours a day. Naomi took the card, but didn't look at it. After Officer Martinez left, I locked the door. Both locks, like he'd said. Then I went upstairs to check on Lily. She'd fallen asleep on the guest bed, with the iPad still playing. I turned it off and pulled a blanket over her. When I came back downstairs, Naomi was standing at the kitchen sink, staring out the window at nothing. You should eat something, I said. I'm not hungry. You need to keep your strength up. For what? I didn't have a good answer for that. So I made her tea instead. Chamomile with honey, the way she used to like it when she was small and couldn't sleep. I set it on the counter next to her. Why did you do it? She asked. Why did you call them? Because watching him hit you and doing nothing would have made me just as guilty as he is. But now everything's going to fall apart. Everything was already apart, honey. You just couldn't see it from the inside. She picked up the mug, but didn't drink. His mother is going to make this hell. Let her try. You don't understand what Sharon's like. She's relentless. She'll call everyone we know. She'll tell them I'm lying. She'll say I'm trying to destroy Marcus's reputation. Then they'll see who she really is. Naomi shook her head. People love Marcus. He's coached half the kids in this town. He volunteers. He's on the church council. They're going to think I'm making this up. Some might, I said. But the truth doesn't change based on what people think of it. She finally took a sip of tea. I'm scared, Mom. I know. What if they don't believe me? What if the judge lets him out and he comes here? Then we'll call the police again. and we'll keep calling them every single time he violates the order. And what about Lily? How do I explain this to her? That was the question I didn't have a good answer for. How do you tell a 7-year-old that her father is dangerous? That the man who taught her to ride a bike and read her bedtime stories is the same man who hurt her mother over and over again? You tell her the truth, I said. Age appropriate, but honest. You tell her that sometimes grown-ups make very bad choices. You tell her that her daddy hurt you, and that's not okay, and that you're keeping both of you safe now. She's going to be so confused. Children are tougher than we think, and they're smarter. She saw what happened tonight. She already knows something is very wrong. Naomi set down the mug. I don't know if I can do this. You don't have to do it alone. What if I'm not strong enough? I looked at my daughter, at her swollen cheek, and her red eyes, and her hands that wouldn't stop shaking. You've survived 7 years of this. That took more strength than most people have in their entire lives. What comes next might be hard, but it won't be harder than what you've already endured. She didn't answer, but she didn't argue either. We sat in the kitchen for a long time, not talking, just being. I thought about all the Sunday dinners we'd had in this house, all the times Marcus had sat at my table and smiled and complimented my cooking, all the times I'd watched Naomi move around him like she was navigating a minefield, adjusting her words, her tone, her body language to keep him calm. I'd seen it. I'd just told myself I was imagining things. That's what I couldn't forgive myself for. Not that I didn't know, but that part of me did know, and I'd looked away anyway. I'm sorry, I said. Naomi looked at me. For what? For not seeing it sooner, for not asking the right questions. You couldn't have known. I should have. I'm your mother. I should have known. She reached across the counter and took my hand. Her fingers were cold. You did what you could, and tonight, when it mattered most, you didn't look away. That's what counts. I held her hand and hoped she was right. At 11 o'clock, I made up the guest room bed properly and found a nightgown that would fit Naomi. She stood in the doorway watching me smooth the sheets. I don't have anything for tomorrow, she said. No clothes for Lily, no toothbrushes, nothing. We'll go to your house in the morning and get what you need. What if he's there? He won't be. He's in jail, and even if they release him Monday, there will be conditions. He won't be allowed near you or the house. That won't stop him. Then we'll deal with that when it happens. But right now, you need to rest. She got into the bed like a child, pulling the covers up to her chin. Will you stay for a minute? I sat on the edge of the bed. The lamp on the nightstand cast soft light across the room. Outside, I could hear the wind moving through the trees. When I was pregnant with you, I said, your father and I used to lie awake at night and talk about what kind of parents we wanted to be. We made all these promises. We said we'd protect you. We said we'd teach you to be strong and independent. We said we'd never let anyone hurt you. You did protect me. You did teach me those things. But I didn't protect you from this. This wasn't your fault, Mum. It wasn't yours either. I need you to hear that. I need you to believe it. She closed her eyes. I'll try. I sat with her until her breathing changed, and I knew she was asleep. Then I turned off the lamp and went to my own room. I didn't sleep much that night. I kept thinking about the sound of Marcus's hand hitting Naomi's face, that soft, terrible sound that meant this had happened so many times it didn't even register as shocking anymore. I thought about Sharon clapping, about Lily crying, about Officer Martinez's face when Naomi said 50 times, and I thought about what came next, because calling the police was just the beginning. The real work, the hard, grinding, exhausting work of keeping Naomi and Lily safe, that was still ahead of us. At some point, I must have dozed off. I woke to grey morning light coming through my bedroom window and the smell of coffee. When I went downstairs, Naomi was in the kitchen, already dressed in the same clothes from last night. She was making breakfast, eggs and toast. You're up early, I said. Couldn't sleep. Lily was at the kitchen table, colouring in one of the books I kept here for her visits. She looked up when I came in. Grandma, can we have pancakes instead? Sure, sweetheart. I started getting out the pancake ingredients while Naomi put away the eggs. We moved around each other in the familiar rhythm of people who've shared a kitchen many times before. Except nothing felt familiar. Everything felt strange and fragile, like we were all made of glass. I want to go to the house this morning, Naomi said quietly, before church lets out, before people are around to see. Our town wasn't big, about 15,000 people. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone, and news travelled fast. By tomorrow, half of Belmont would know that Marcus Fletcher had been arrested. By next week, everyone would have an opinion about it. Okay, I said. We'll go after breakfast. We ate pancakes at the kitchen table. Lily chattered about the movies she'd watched last night. Naomi and I made the appropriate sounds and responses, but I don't think either of us was really listening. We were both somewhere else, thinking about what came next. After breakfast, we drove to Naomi's house. It was a nice house, 2 stories, white siding, black shutters. Marcus had bought it 3 years ago. It was on Maple Street, which was one of the better streets in town. The yard was perfectly maintained. There was a swing set in the back for Lily. It looked like the kind of house where happy families lived. Naomi's hands were shaking when she unlocked the front door. I keep expecting him to be here. He's not. We went inside. The house was clean, very clean. Everything in its place. I'd always thought Naomi was just naturally organized, but now I wondered if it was something else, if Marcus required this level of perfection. What do you need? I asked. Clothes, toiletries, Lily's stuffed rabbit, some books. We split up. I helped Lily pack a bag, while Naomi went to the master bedroom. I could hear her opening drawers, moving around. When I went to check on her, she was standing in the closet, holding a dress. This was for our anniversary dinner next month, she said. I bought it 3 weeks ago. I thought if I wore something nice, if I made everything perfect, maybe he'd be in a good mood. Maybe we could have one nice night. Naomi, I was always trying to manage his moods, always walking on eggshells, always thinking if I just did everything right, he'd be the man I married, the man who cried and apologized and promised to change. Did he ever change? For a day or two, sometimes a week. Then something would set him off again. The house wasn't clean enough. Dinner wasn't ready on time. I'd talked to the mailman for too long. There was always something. She put the dress back and started grabbing clothes at random. Jeans, sweaters, underwear. She stuffed them into a duffel bag without folding them. When we were loading the bags into my car, a neighbour came out, Mrs. Patterson from next door. She was in her 70s, a retired teacher who'd lived on Maple Street for 40 years. Naomi, she called, walking across the lawn. I heard what happened. Are you all right? Naomi's face went carefully blank. I'm fine, Mrs. Patterson. Marcus was arrested. Is that true? Yes. But why? What happened? I could see Naomi struggling. Part of her wanted to explain. Part of her wanted to defend herself. Part of her wanted to make sure Mrs. Patterson understood that she wasn't making this up. It's a family matter, I said, stepping between them. We appreciate your concern, but we need to go now. Mrs. Patterson looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Eleanor, surely you can tell me what's going on. I've known this family for years, and we appreciate that. But this isn't the time. We got in the car. As we drove away, I could see Mrs. Patterson in the rear-view mirror, standing in the driveway, watching us. That's how it's going to be, isn't it? Naomi said. Everyone wanting to know, everyone judging. Some people will judge, others will support you, and some won't know what to think. You can't control any of that. You can only control how you respond to it. What if I don't respond at all? That's a valid choice too. We spent the rest of Sunday at my house. I let Lily watch more television than I normally would. Naomi sat on the couch with her phone, staring at it like it might explode. It rang twice. Both times it was Sharon. Both times Naomi didn't answer. At 4 in the afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Is this Eleanor Pritchard? A woman's voice. Professional. Yes. This is Detective Linda Vasquez with the Belmont Police Department. I'm investigating the assault that occurred at your residence last night. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Yes. I've read Officer Martinez's report. I've also spoken with your daughter. I wanted to ask you a few questions about what you observed. All right. How long have you known Marcus Fletcher? 8 years. Since he and Naomi started dating. Did you ever witness him being violent or aggressive toward your daughter before last night? I thought about that carefully. No, not physically. But there were moments that made me uncomfortable. Can you describe those moments? The way he'd speak to her sometimes. His tone, like she was a child who'd disappointed him. The way she'd change around him. Get quieter, more careful. Did you ever ask her about that? Once, about 2 years ago. I asked if everything was okay in her marriage. She said it was fine. Did you believe her? That was the question, wasn't it? I wanted to, so I let myself. Tell me about last night. What led up to the assault? I walked her through it. The dinner, the conversation, the comment Marcus had made about Naomi being late with the food, the way she'd apologized even though she wasn't actually late. The tension I'd felt building. What was the comment he made? Detective Vasquez asked. I tried to remember his exact words. He said something like, maybe if you spent less time gossiping at work and more time on your responsibilities, dinner would be ready on time. How did your daughter respond? She apologized. She said she'd lost track of time, but I could tell she was scared. I could see it in her eyes. What happened next? She started serving the food. She was moving fast, trying to get everything done. Her hands were shaking. She spilled a little gravy on the tablecloth, and Marcus saw it. He didn't say anything, but his face changed, got harder. Naomi saw it too. She apologized again, tried to clean it up. That's when he hit her. Did he say anything when he hit her? No, he just did it, like it was automatic. And his mother's reaction? She clapped once and said, about time, like Naomi had been misbehaving, finally got what she deserved. Detective Vasquez was quiet for a moment. I could hear her typing. Mrs. Pritchard, I want you to know that what you did last night, calling 911 immediately, likely saved your daughter's life. Many victims of domestic violence don't survive because no one intervenes. I just did what needed to be done. Most people don't. Most people look away. They tell themselves it's not their business. They wait for the victim to ask for help. But asking for help is often impossible when you're in that situation. What happens now? I asked. Marcus Fletcher will be arraigned Monday morning. Based on your daughter's statement and the evidence we have, the DA will likely charge him with assault on a female and possibly additional charges related to the pattern of abuse. We're also looking into whether there are other victims. Other victims? Marcus Fletcher has been married once before. We're attempting to locate his ex-wife to interview her. I hadn't known that. Naomi had never mentioned it. If we find evidence of prior abuse, Detective Vasquez continued, it strengthens the case significantly. It establishes a pattern of behavior. What do you need from me? You'll likely be called to testify. You're a witness to the assault and to the immediate aftermath. Your testimony will be important. After I hung up, I told Naomi about the call. He was married before, she said. He never told me that. You didn't know? No. He said I was his first serious relationship, his first real love. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. How many other things did he lie about? We didn't have an answer to that. Not yet. That night, after Lily was in bed, Naomi and I sat in my living room with the television on, but the sound muted. We weren't watching it. We were just staring at the moving pictures, both lost in our own thoughts. Tomorrow is going to be hard, I said. I know. His bail hearing's at 9. You don't have to be there. Should I be? That's up to you. She was quiet for a long time. Then, I want to be there. I want him to see me. I want him to know I'm not hiding. Then we'll go together. What about Lily? I'll call Janet. Janet was my friend from church. She'd helped me watch Lily before. She can stay here with her for a few hours. Naomi nodded. Then she said, Mum, what if they let him out? What if he posts bail and comes looking for me? Then we follow the safety plan Officer Martinez told us about. We keep the doors locked. We don't go anywhere alone. We call the police immediately if he shows up. And if he doesn't care about the restraining order? If he decides that losing everything is worth it as long as he can punish me first? That was the fear I'd been trying not to think about. The fear that kept me awake at night. Because men like Marcus didn't just let go. They didn't just accept consequences and move on. They escalated. They retaliated. Then we'll be ready, I said with more confidence than I felt. But the truth was, I didn't know how to be ready for something like that. I didn't know how to protect my daughter from a man who'd spent 7 years learning exactly how to hurt her. All I knew was that I had to try. The county courthouse was built in 1972. Brown brick, small windows, an American flag out front that needed replacing. I'd been inside twice before, once for jury duty and once to pay a property tax dispute. Both times, it had felt institutional, but harmless. Monday morning, it felt different. We arrived at 8:45. Janet had come to the house at 7:30 to stay with Lily, bringing coloring books and the kind of gentle warmth that made you feel like everything might actually be okay. Naomi had put on makeup to cover the bruise on her cheek, but you could still see it if you looked closely. She was wearing jeans and a blue sweater. Simple, unremarkable, the kind of outfit you wear when you don't want to be noticed. The bail hearing was in courtroom 3B on the second floor. We took the stairs instead of the elevator. Naomi's hands were shaking again. "You don't have to go in," I said at the top of the stairs. "You can wait out here if it's too much." "No, I need to see this." The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Maybe 20 rows of benches, a judge's bench at the front, a bailiff standing near the door. There were a handful of other people scattered throughout the room, other defendants, their families, attorneys waiting for their cases to be called. And there, in the front row, was Sharon. She turned when we walked in. Her face was hard. She stared at Naomi for a long moment, then deliberately turned away. We sat in the back. Naomi kept her eyes down. I kept mine forward, watching the proceedings. There were 3 cases before Marcus's: a DUI, a drug possession charge, a probation violation. The judge was a woman in her 50s with reading glasses and a no-nonsense expression. She listened to each attorney, asked questions, made decisions, efficient, businesslike. Then the bailiff called, "State versus Marcus David Fletcher." Marcus was brought in from a side door. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit. His hands were cuffed in front of him. He looked tired. His hair wasn't styled the way he usually wore it. He needed to shave. He scanned the courtroom. His eyes found Naomi. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or anger, but it was gone quickly. Then he looked at me. That same disappointed expression from Saturday night. A public defender stood up. She was young, maybe 30, with dark hair pulled into a bun. She introduced herself as Rebecca Huang. The prosecutor was a man in his 40s named James Morrison. He'd been the DA for 6 years. I'd voted for him twice. Judge Brennan, that's what the nameplate on her bench said, looked down at a folder. "Mr. Fletcher, you're charged with assault on a female. How do you plead?" "Not guilty, Your Honor," Marcus said. His voice was steady. "Noted. Mr. Morrison, what is the state's position on bail?" Morrison stood. "Your Honor, the state requests that bail be set at $50,000. The defendant has been charged with assaulting his wife in front of multiple witnesses, including his 7-year-old daughter. We have reason to believe this was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of domestic violence spanning several years. We consider the defendant to be a significant danger to the victim and request that any bail be conditioned on no contact with the victim or her family." Rebecca Huang stood. "Your Honor, my client has no prior criminal record. He's a respected member of this community. He coaches Little League and volunteers regularly. He has strong ties to the area and is not a flight risk. He maintains his innocence and requests reasonable bail so that he can prepare his defense while living at home." Judge Brennan looked at Marcus. "Mr. Fletcher, where is home?" 1247 Maple Street, Your Honor. "That's the marital residence?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Does your wife also live there?" "Yes, Your Honor, with our daughter." Judge Brennan looked at Morrison. "Has the victim filed for a protective order?" "Not yet, Your Honor, but we've been informed she intends to do so today." The judge made a note. Then she looked at Marcus again. "Mr. Fletcher, I'm setting your bail at $25,000. You are prohibited from having any contact, direct or indirect, with Naomi Fletcher or Eleanor Pritchard. You are prohibited from going within 500 feet of either of them. You are prohibited from going to 1247 Maple Street or to Mrs. Pritchard's residence at 1247 Oakwood Avenue. Do you understand these conditions?" "Yes, Your Honor. If you violate any of these conditions, your bail will be revoked immediately and you will be returned to custody. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor." "You're ordered to surrender any firearms you own within 24 hours. Do you own any firearms?" Marcus hesitated, just for a second. "No, Your Honor. I saw Morrison make a note. I wondered if that was true." "Next case," Judge Brennan said. The bailiff led Marcus back out. He didn't look at Naomi again. Sharon stood and walked out quickly. She didn't look at us either. We sat there for a moment while the next case was called. A woman charged with shoplifting. The routine of the court moved on. 25,000, Naomi said quietly. "His mother will post that, probably. So he'll be out by tonight. Maybe. But he can't come near you. If he does, he goes back to jail. He has guns, Mum. He told the judge he doesn't, but he does. He has 3 of them. He keeps them in a safe in the garage." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "You need to tell someone." "Who?" The police, the DA, someone. And what will they do? Go check the house? He'll hide them before they get there. Or he'll say they're his mother's guns. Or he'll say I'm lying to get him in more trouble. She was probably right. But still. Come on, I said. Let's go file for that protective order. The clerk's office was down the hall. There was a woman behind the counter who looked like she'd been doing this job for 30 years. Her name tag said, Patricia. I need to file for a domestic violence protective order, Naomi said. Patricia didn't even look up. She pulled out a form. Fill this out, front and back. Be specific about the incidents, dates, times, what happened. The judge will review it and decide whether to grant a temporary order. We sat in hard plastic chairs in the hallway. Naomi filled out the form slowly. I watched her write about the first time Marcus hit her, the second time, the worst times. She wrote about the choking, about the belt, about being pushed down the stairs. There wasn't enough space on the form for 7 years of abuse. When she handed it back to Patricia, the woman actually read it. Her expression changed, softened. The judge will see you at 1 o'clock, she said. Come back then. We had 3 hours to kill. We went to a diner 2 blocks from the courthouse. The kind of place with red vinyl booths and laminated menus and coffee that tasted like it had been sitting on the burner too long. We ordered food we didn't eat and sat across from each other, not talking much. At 12:45, we went back. The hearing was in a different courtroom, smaller, just the judge, a clerk, Naomi and me, Judge Brennan again. She'd read the form. Mrs. Fletcher, she said. I'm granting a temporary domestic violence protective order for you and your daughter. It's effective immediately and will last for 10 days. There will be a full hearing on March 3rd to determine whether it should be extended for up to 1 year. Your husband will be served with this order today. If he violates it in any way, call the police immediately. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Do you have a safe place to stay? I'm staying with my mother. Good. Keep staying there. Judge Brennan's expression softened slightly. Mrs. Fletcher, I've seen a lot of cases like yours. I want you to know that you did the right thing by coming forward. It takes tremendous courage to break the silence. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you, Your Honor. We left with a certified copy of the protective order. Naomi held it like it might disintegrate. This is just a piece of paper, she said when we were in the car. It won't stop him if he decides to come after me. No, but it gives the police a reason to arrest him immediately if he does. That's not nothing. We drove home in silence. When we pulled into my driveway, Janet's car was still there. We could see her and Lily through the front window, sitting at the kitchen table doing something with construction paper. I need to tell her something, Naomi said. I can't keep avoiding it. What are you going to say? I don't know. The truth, I guess. As much of it as she can understand. We went inside. Lily looked up and smiled when she saw Naomi. Mummy, we made hearts. For Valentine's Day. They're beautiful, baby. Janet stood. She looked at Naomi's face, then at mine. She was smart enough not to ask questions in front of Lily. I'll get going. Call me if you need anything. After she left, Naomi sat down next to Lily. Sweetheart, we need to talk about something important. Lily put down her scissors. About Daddy? Yes, about Daddy. Is he still in jail? He's going to get out today, but he can't come to Grandma's house. And he can't come to our house. A judge said so. Why? Naomi took a breath. Because Daddy hurt me, and when someone hurts another person, there are consequences. The judge said Daddy has to stay away from us for a while. Did he hurt you a lot? Yes. I thought only bad people hurt other people. Most people aren't all good, or all bad. They're complicated. Your daddy loves you very much, but he made some very bad choices, and those choices hurt me. So we need to stay away from him until some things get sorted out. How long? I don't know yet. Lily thought about that. Then she said, Grammy Patterson's husband used to hit her. She told my class about it once when we were learning about being kind. She said he was mean when he drank alcohol. Is Daddy mean? Sometimes. Yes. Are you scared of him? Naomi's voice cracked. Yes, baby. I am. Lily put her small hand on Naomi's. It's okay, Mummy. Grandma will keep us safe. She's tough. Out of the mouths of children. That night, around 8 o'clock, my phone rang. Unknown number again. I almost didn't answer, but Naomi was giving Lily a bath, and I thought it might be important. Mrs. Pritchard? A woman's voice. Not Detective Vasquez. Someone new. Yes? This is Amanda Reynolds. I'm an advocate with the County Domestic Violence Resource Center. Detective Vasquez gave me your daughter's case file and suggested I reach out. Is now a good time to talk? Hold on. I stepped out onto the back porch and closed the door. February night air, cold and clean. Okay. I want to start by saying that everything we discuss is confidential. My job is to provide support and resources to victims of domestic violence and their families. I'm not connected to law enforcement or the courts. I work for you. All right. Detective Vasquez told me your daughter is staying with you. That's good. One of the most dangerous times for a victim is right after they leave their abuser. Having a support system is critical. She has me. I know. And that's wonderful. But I want to make sure you both know about all the resources available. We have support groups that meet twice a week. We have counselors who specialize in trauma. We have legal advocates who can help navigate the court system. We have a safe house if your daughter ever feels she needs to leave town temporarily. She won't leave. This is her home. I understand. But situations can change quickly. It's good to know your options. Amanda talked for 20 minutes. She gave me phone numbers, addresses, meeting times. She explained what would happen in the criminal case, how long it might take, what to expect at trial, how victims' advocates could help Naomi prepare to testify. One more thing, Amanda said. The statistics on domestic violence are stark. On average, a victim will leave their abuser 7 times before they leave for good. The fact that your daughter got out on the first try, with your help, is remarkable. But that doesn't mean this will be easy. There will be moments when she doubts herself, when she wonders if she did the right thing, when she thinks about going back. She won't go back. I hope you're right. But if she wavers, please call me. Don't judge her. Don't lecture her. Just call me, and I'll talk to her. After we hung up, I stood on the porch for a while, watching the dark shapes of trees against the sky. I thought about what Amanda had said. 7 times. Most victims leave and go back 7 times before they're free. Naomi wasn't going back. I wouldn't let her. But even as I thought it, I knew it wasn't up to me. This was her life, her choice. All I could do was stand beside her and hold the door open. The rest of February passed in a strange blur. Naomi and Lily stayed with me. We fell into a routine. Breakfast, school drop-off, work. Naomi took 2 weeks of leave from the library, then went back part-time. Dinner, homework, bedtime stories. All the ordinary rituals of family life, except nothing felt ordinary. Marcus posted bail on February 16th. Sharon had put up her house as collateral. We knew because Detective Vasquez called to tell us. She also told us that they'd executed a search warrant on Marcus's house and found the 3 guns he'd denied owning. He was now facing additional charges for lying to a judge. Good, Naomi said when I told her. Maybe they'll keep him in jail this time. They didn't. The judge raised his bail to $50,000, but allowed him to remain free. The guns were confiscated. Marcus moved in with his mother. We started seeing his truck around town, never close to us. Never violating the protective order, but there, watching. One time I saw him parked outside the grocery store when we came out with our cart. He was 3 spaces over, sitting in his truck, staring straight ahead. Naomi froze. Her whole body went rigid. Get in the car, I said quietly. We loaded the groceries fast. I backed out and drove away without looking at him. In the rearview mirror, I saw him pull out and follow us. I drove to the police station, parked right in front. Marcus drove past slowly, then kept going. I called Detective Vasquez from the parking lot and reported it. Was he within 500 feet? She asked. I don't know. Maybe. It's hard to tell in a parking lot. We'll make a note of it. If it happens again, call 911 immediately. And if possible, get a photo or video. After that, Naomi started carrying her phone everywhere with the camera app ready. So did I. The full protective order hearing was on March 3rd. Marcus's attorney argued that he'd been nothing but compliant since his release, that he hadn't contacted Naomi, that he was attending court-mandated anger management classes, that he deserved to have contact with his daughter. The judge extended the protective order for 1 year, but modified it to allow supervised visitation with Lily once a month at a designated family services center. No, Naomi said when the judge announced it. She stood up. Your Honor, please. I don't want him near my daughter. Mrs. Fletcher, he has parental rights. The supervised visitation will be monitored by trained professionals. If there are any issues, the visitation can be suspended. He'll manipulate her. He'll tell her this is my fault. He'll use her to get to me. That's why the visits will be supervised. Sit down, Mrs. Fletcher. Naomi sat, but I could feel her shaking next to me. The first supervised visit was scheduled for March 15th. Naomi didn't sleep for 3 days before it. She made me go over the safety protocols a dozen times. What if he tried to take Lily? What if he hurt her? What if he told her terrible things? The supervisors are trained for this, I kept saying. They won't let anything happen. You don't know that. No, but we have to trust the system. The system is what put us in this situation. She wasn't wrong. On March 15th, we drove Lily to the Family Services Center. It was in a strip mall next to a dollar store and a tax preparation office. The waiting room had worn carpet and plastic toys and a TV playing cartoons on mute. A woman named Karen met us. She was in her 50s, warm smile, calm demeanor. You must be Lily. I'm going to be sitting with you and your dad today. Your mum will be right here waiting for you the whole time, okay? Lily looked at Naomi. Do I have to go? Yes, baby, but only for an hour. And Karen will be with you the whole time. What if I don't want to see Daddy? Karen knelt down. That's okay to feel that way, but your dad really wants to see you. Can we try it for today? And if you don't like it, we can talk about it. Lily didn't answer, but she let Karen take her hand and lead her down the hall to one of the visitation rooms. Naomi and I sat in the waiting room. She watched the clock. Every minute felt like an hour. At exactly 60 minutes, Karen brought Lily back out. Lily's eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. Marcus appeared in the doorway behind them, still inside the visitation room, where the rules said he had to stay. How did it go? Naomi asked Karen quietly. Fine. They played with blocks, talked a little. He asked about school. It was appropriate. Did he say anything about me? I can't discuss the details of the visit with you, but I can tell you there were no violations of protocol. In the car, Naomi asked Lily what they'd talked about. He asked if I liked living at Grandma's. What did you say? I said it was okay. He asked if you were happy. I said I didn't know. Then he gave me a letter. A letter? Lily pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. Naomi unfolded it. I couldn't see what it said, but I saw her face go pale. What is it? I asked. She handed it to me. The letter was addressed to Naomi. It said, I know you think you're protecting our daughter, but you're hurting her. She needs her father. She needs her family intact. I've forgiven you for what you did. When you're ready to forgive me and come home, I'll be waiting. I love you. -M. That son of a bitch, I said. He's not allowed to contact me. That's a violation. We called Detective Vasquez from the parking lot. She told us to photograph the letter and bring it to the station. Marcus was arrested again that night. This time his bail was revoked. He went back to jail to wait for his trial, and that's when things got really ugly. Sharon showed up at my house 3 days after Marcus was arrested for violating the protective order. It was a Saturday morning, just after 9. Naomi and Lily were still in their pajamas eating pancakes. I was doing dishes when the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Sharon standing on my porch, wearing a black coat and carrying a leather purse big enough to hold a small dog. Her face was set in that expression I'd come to recognize. Righteous anger mixed with absolute certainty that she was right. I almost didn't answer, but then I thought about all the things I'd been wanting to say to this woman since she clapped at my dinner table. So I opened the door. Eleanor, she said, not a greeting, just my name, flat and cold. Sharon, we need to talk. No, we don't. My son is in jail because of you and your daughter. The least you can do is hear me out. Your son is in jail because he committed assault and then violated a court order. Neither of those things had anything to do with me. He sent a letter to his daughter. That's not a crime. It is when the letter was actually meant for Naomi and violated the no-contact order. Your son used his child to get around a legal restriction. That's manipulation, and it's exactly why he's where he belongs. Sharon's face flushed red. You self-righteous bitch. You've always thought you were better than us. Always looked down on Marcus, on me, on our family. Naomi was lucky to have him. He gave her everything. A beautiful home, financial security. And this is how she repays him? I could feel my hands clenching into fists. I forced them to relax. Marcus gave her bruises. He gave her fear. He gave her 7 years of walking on eggshells in her own home. If you think that's a gift, Then I genuinely feel sorry for you. He disciplined her when she needed it. There's nothing wrong with a husband keeping his wife in line. And there it was, the core belief that had allowed Sharon to watch her son abuse my daughter and feel nothing but approval. Get off my property, I said. Or what? You'll call the police on me too? Yes, exactly that. Sharon took a step closer. You've destroyed my son's life, his career, his reputation, everything he built. And for what? Because he slapped his wife one time? It wasn't one time, and you know it. She's lying. No, she's finally telling the truth. Sharon reached into her purse, and for half a second, I thought she might actually pull out a weapon, but instead, she pulled out an envelope. This is a letter from Marcus's attorney. He's filing for divorce and full custody of Lily. Naomi won't have a penny when this is over, and she certainly won't have her daughter. She threw the envelope at my feet and walked away. I picked it up after she was gone. Inside was a letter from an attorney named Richard Kozlowski, informing Naomi that Marcus was initiating divorce proceedings and seeking sole custody of their minor child on the grounds that Naomi was an unfit mother who had subjected Lily to unnecessary trauma by making false accusations against her father. I brought the letter inside. Naomi read it at the kitchen table while her pancakes got cold. He's going to take Lily, she said. Her voice was empty, hollowed out. No, he's not. You read it. He's saying I'm unfit, that I caused this, that I'm traumatizing her. He can say whatever he wants. It doesn't make it true. But what if the court believes him? What if they think I made this all up? Naomi, there's medical documentation, police reports, witness testimony. A judge already granted you a protective order because the evidence was so clear. Family court is different. Custody cases are different. They want to keep both parents involved. What if the judge decides that Lily needs her father in her life? Then we'll get you a good attorney. We'll fight this. With what money? I don't have money for an attorney. Marcus controlled all our finances. I have $300 in my personal checking account. I thought about my own finances. I had Gerald's life insurance money, his pension, my social security. I owned this house outright. I'd been saving carefully for 15 years, living modestly, thinking I'd leave it all to Naomi someday. I'll pay for it, I said. Mom, no, I can't let you. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing to do it. That's what this money is for. Family, emergency. This qualifies as both. Lily was watching us from across the table. Her eyes moved between Naomi's face and mine like she was watching a tennis match. Is Daddy going to take me away? She asked. No, sweetheart, Naomi said. No one's taking you anywhere. But the letter said, sometimes people say things that aren't true because they're angry. Your daddy is very angry right now, but that doesn't mean he gets to make all the decisions. I don't want to live with Daddy. I want to stay here with you and Grandma. Naomi pulled her into her lap. Then that's what we're going to make happen. I called Amanda Reynolds that afternoon. She gave me the names of 3 family law attorneys who specialized in domestic violence cases. I called all 3. The first was booked solid. The second wanted a $20,000 retainer I didn't have. The third was a woman named Patricia Chen, no relation to my neighbor, who agreed to meet with us Monday morning. Patricia's office was in a converted house on the edge of downtown. She was in her early 40s, Chinese-American, with short hair and tortoiseshell glasses. Her office walls were covered with degrees and certificates and thank you cards from clients. She listened to Naomi's story for 90 minutes without interrupting, took notes in a legal pad with neat handwriting. When Naomi was finished, Patricia set down her pen. Okay, she said, here's where we are. In North Carolina, custody decisions are based on the best interests of the child. The court will consider factors like each parent's ability to provide a safe and stable home, the child's relationship with each parent, any history of abuse, and the child's preferences, if she's old enough to express them. Lily's 7, Naomi said. Is that old enough? Typically, courts start giving weight to a child's preferences around age 12, but in cases involving domestic violence, they may consider younger children's expressed fears or concerns, especially if there's documentation from therapists or counselors. Lily hasn't seen a therapist. Then we should get her into therapy immediately, not to coach her, but to provide her with support and to create a professional record of how she's processing this situation. Patricia flipped through her notes. The good news is that you have significant evidence on your side. police reports, medical records from when you went to the ER, the protective order, your husband's arrest for violating that order, his new charges for lying about the guns, his conviction, assuming he's convicted, for assault. All of that works in your favor. What's the bad news? I asked. Patricia looked at me, then back at Naomi. The bad news is that family court is unpredictable. Some judges take domestic violence very seriously. Others still subscribe to the idea that children need both parents regardless of the circumstances. We might get a judge who sees your husband's violence as disqualifying, or we might get one who thinks supervised visitation and anger management classes are sufficient to protect Lily. So it's a gamble, Naomi said. It's always a gamble, but we can stack the odds in our favor. How? First, we file our response to his petition and file a counter-petition asking for sole custody with no visitation until he completes a batterer's intervention program and undergoes a psychological evaluation. Second, we get Lily into therapy and request a custody evaluation by a court-appointed psychologist. Third, we gather every piece of evidence we can find, emails, text messages, photos, witness statements from anyone who saw warning signs of abuse. Fourth, we prepare you to testify. And fifth, we wait for the criminal case to conclude, because a conviction will significantly strengthen our position. How long will all that take? 6 months minimum, probably closer to a year. Naomi's shoulders sagged. A year. A whole year of this hanging over us. I know it feels like forever, but use that time productively. Show the court that you're providing Lily with a stable, loving home. Document everything. Follow every court order to the letter. And most importantly, don't engage with Marcus or his family. No matter what they say or do, don't respond. Let me handle all communication through the court system. We left Patricia's office with a $10,000 retainer agreement and a long list of things to do. Naomi was quiet in the car. I don't have $10,000, she finally said. I do. I told you I'm paying for this. Mom, that's too much. I can't let you. Naomi. I pulled the car over to the side of the road and put it in park, turned to look at her. Your father and I saved our whole lives. We lived carefully so we'd have something to pass on to you. This is that something. This is exactly what that money is for. Do you understand me? Her eyes filled with tears. I'm supposed to have my life together by now. I'm 31 years old. I should be able to handle this myself. Nobody handles this kind of thing alone. Not even people twice your age with twice your resources. This is not a failing on your part. This is me choosing to help my daughter when she needs it. Let me do this. She nodded, wiped her eyes. Okay. We drove home and wrote Patricia a check. The criminal trial was scheduled for June 12th. That gave us 3 months to prepare. Detective Vasquez called every few weeks with updates. They'd found Marcus's first wife, a woman named Jennifer who lived in Virginia now. She'd agreed to testify. She'd been married to Marcus for 3 years. She'd left after he broke her wrist. How many of us are there? Naomi asked when I told her. I don't know. Do you think there are others? Women before Jennifer? Maybe. Probably. And we all thought we were the only one. We all thought it was our fault. We all kept quiet because we were ashamed. That was the pattern, wasn't it? Isolation. Shame. Silence. Marcus had counted on it. All men like Marcus counted on it. You're not keeping quiet anymore, I said. No. But it doesn't feel brave. It just feels necessary. In April, Lily started therapy with a woman named Dr. Sarah Winters. She specialized in childhood trauma. She had a kind face and an office full of toys and art supplies. Lily went once a week. Naomi would sit in the waiting room, and I'd wait in the car. And for 50 minutes, Lily would talk to Dr. Winters about her feelings. After the 4th session, Dr. Winters asked to speak with Naomi. Lily is struggling with some understandable guilt, she said. She thinks that if she hadn't been at dinner that night, none of this would have happened. She thinks she's the reason her father is in jail. I've told her that's not true, Naomi said. I know, but knowing something intellectually and believing it emotionally are different things. She's 7. She's trying to make sense of adult problems with a child's understanding of cause and effect. What can I do? Keep reinforcing that none of this is her fault. Keep providing stability and consistency. And consider letting her write a letter to her father, not to send, just to express her feelings. Sometimes externalizing the thoughts helps. What kinds of feelings does she have about him? Dr. Winters hesitated. A mix. She loves him. She's also afraid of him. She's angry at him. She misses him. All of those things can be true at the same time. She told me she doesn't want to see him. Right now, that's true, but feelings change. It's possible that at some point she might want contact with him again, or she might not. Both are valid. After that session, Naomi was quiet for a long time. That night, after Lily was asleep, she came to my room. "I keep thinking about all the ways I failed her," she said. "You didn't fail her. I stayed with him for 7 years. I let her grow up in a house where violence was normal. I let her see me be afraid. That's failing. You survived. You kept her safe. You got out. That's not failing. That's succeeding under impossible circumstances." She sat on the edge of my bed. "Do you remember when she was born?" Of course. Marcus was so gentle with her. He held her like she might break. He cried when the nurse put her in his arms. I thought, this is it. This is the man I married. Becoming a father will change him. But it didn't. No, it made him worse. He became obsessed with control. Everything had to be perfect. The house, the schedule, my appearance, Lily's behavior. If anything was out of place, he'd snap. Did he ever hurt Lily? No, never. That was the one line he wouldn't cross. But she saw him hurt me. She heard the yelling. She felt the tension. That's its own kind of harm. You're out now. She's safe now. That's what matters. Is she safe? He's filing for custody. What if he wins? He won't win. You can't promise that. She was right. I couldn't. May came, and with it, the custody evaluation. A court-appointed psychologist named Dr. Raymond Park interviewed everyone. Naomi, Marcus, Lily, me, even Sharon. He spent 2 hours with Lily alone, playing games and asking questions. He spent 3 hours with Naomi, going through her history with Marcus in excruciating detail. He spent 2 hours with Marcus, and I would have given anything to be a fly on that wall. We got the report in early June. 90 pages of careful clinical language that boiled down to this. Dr. Park recommended that Naomi be granted primary custody with supervised visitation for Marcus, only after he completed a batterer's intervention program and demonstrated sustained behavioral change for a minimum of 1 year. He noted that Lily expressed fear of her father and stated clearly that she did not want to live with him or see him alone. He documented Naomi's evidence of long-term abuse and Marcus's pattern of minimizing, denying, and blaming. He concluded that unsupervised contact between Marcus and Lily would pose a risk to the child's emotional well-being. When Patricia called to tell us, Naomi cried, big, shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep. "This doesn't mean we've won," Patricia cautioned. "The judge isn't required to follow Dr. Park's recommendations, but it's a very strong factor in our favor." "What does Marcus's lawyer say?" I asked. "They're arguing that Dr. Park was biased, that he gave too much weight to Lily's statements, that Marcus's completion of anger management classes demonstrates his commitment to change. But honestly, their position is weak." The criminal trial started on June 12th, a Thursday. The courthouse was more crowded than I'd ever seen it. People I recognized from town, reporters from the local paper, and even one from a Raleigh TV station. Apparently, the case had gotten attention because Marcus had been such a respected community figure. People wanted to see the fall. The jury was selected by noon. 7 women, 5 men, a mix of ages and backgrounds. They sat in the jury box with serious faces, while the attorneys gave opening statements. The prosecutor, James Morrison, laid out the case methodically. He described the assault at my dinner table. He showed photos of Naomi's bruised face. He explained the pattern of abuse, the history, the escalation. He promised to bring witnesses who would show beyond a reasonable doubt that Marcus Fletcher was a violent man who deserved to be held accountable. Marcus's attorney, Richard Kozlowski, argued that this was a misunderstanding blown out of proportion by an interfering mother-in-law and an emotionally unstable wife. He claimed Marcus had barely touched Naomi, that the mark on her face was superficial, that Naomi had a history of exaggerating things, and that this was all part of a scheme to gain advantage in the divorce. I wanted to stand up and scream, but I sat still with my hands folded in my lap. The prosecution called witnesses over the next 2 days. Officer Davis and Officer Martinez testified about what they saw when they arrived at my house. The ER doctor who'd treated Naomi 2 years ago testified about her injuries from falling down the stairs. Detective Vasquez testified about the pattern of abuse documented in police reports and medical records. Then Jennifer took the stand. She was in her late 30s now, with blonde hair and a steady voice. She described her marriage to Marcus, the first time he hit her, the escalation, the broken wrist that finally made her leave. She was calm and factual, but I could see the jury leaning forward, paying attention. When Kozlowski cross-examined her, he tried to suggest that her experience had nothing to do with Naomi's, that people change, that Marcus had been young and immature then. "Mr. Kozlowski," Jennifer said, "abusers don't change just because time passes. They change when they take responsibility and do real work on themselves. Marcus has done neither." On Monday, June 17th, Naomi testified. She wore a navy blue dress and minimal makeup. She walked to the witness stand with her shoulders back, and when she swore to tell the truth, her voice was strong. Morrison asked her to describe her marriage. She did. 7 years compressed into 2 hours of testimony. The good times, the bad times, the first hit, the 50th hit, the fear, the shame, the survival strategies. She spoke clearly and directly, making eye contact with the jury. When Morrison asked her to describe the night at my house, she did. Every detail, the tension, the spilled gravy, the slap, Sharon's clapping, my phone call. "Mrs. Fletcher," Morrison said, "why didn't you leave sooner?" "Because I thought I could fix it. Because I thought if I tried harder, he'd stop. Because he'd apologize and promise to change and I'd believe him. Because leaving felt more dangerous than staying. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want to admit I'd failed." "Have you failed?" "No. He failed. He failed me. He failed our daughter. He failed every promise he ever made." When Kozlowski cross-examined her, he was aggressive. He suggested she was lying. He pointed out inconsistencies in her timeline. He asked why she didn't have photos of every injury, why she didn't call the police every time, why she stayed. Naomi didn't flinch. She answered every question calmly. "Mr. Kozlowski," she said at one point, "you're asking me to explain the psychology of an abuse victim while also questioning whether I was actually abused. Those two positions are contradictory. Either I'm lying, in which case there's nothing to explain, or I'm telling the truth, in which case my behavior makes perfect sense to anyone who understands trauma." The jury watched her like she was the only person in the room. I testified on Tuesday. Morrison asked me what I saw. I told him. He asked why I called 911. I said because watching violence happen at my dinner table and doing nothing would have made me complicit. He asked if I'd seen signs before that night. I said yes, but I hadn't understood what they meant until it was too late. Kozlowski tried to suggest I was a meddling mother-in-law who'd always disliked Marcus. "That's not true," I said. "I liked him fine until I watched him hit my daughter and his mother applauded." The courtroom was quiet. The defense called Marcus to the stand on Wednesday. He wore a suit. He'd shaved. He looked like the man who coached Little League and volunteered at the food bank. He spoke respectfully to the judge. He answered questions politely, and he lied. He said he'd never hit Naomi before that night. He said that night was an isolated incident, that he'd been stressed about work, that he'd reacted poorly to her attitude. He said the mark on her face was barely visible. He said he'd been attending anger management and had learned better coping strategies. He said he loved his wife and daughter and just wanted his family back together. Kozlowski led him through it all gently, letting him paint himself as a flawed but fundamentally good man who'd made one mistake. Then Morrison stood up for cross-examination. "Mr. Fletcher, you testified that you never hit your wife before February 15th. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Then how do you explain the ER visit in October 2023, where she was treated for injuries consistent with being pushed downstairs? She fell. She's clumsy. She's clumsy. I see." "And the statement from Dr. Elizabeth Warren that the pattern of bruising suggested she'd been pushed? That's just speculation." "Is it? What about the statement from your first wife, Jennifer Fletcher, who testified that you broke her wrist during an argument? That was different. That was a long time ago." "Different how?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "We were young. Things were different. But you did break her wrist. It was an accident." "An accident where your hand closed around her wrist and twisted hard enough to fracture the bone. I didn't mean to hurt her that badly. But you did mean to hurt her." That's not what I said." Morrison pulled out a document. Mr. Fletcher, this is the police report from your arrest on February 15th. Officer Martinez noted that when they arrived, your daughter was crying and appeared frightened. Do you remember that? She was upset because there were police in the house. Are you sure she wasn't upset because she'd just watched you hit her mother? I barely touched her. You barely touched her. Then why was there a handprint on her face? I don't know. Maybe she bruises easily. Mr. Fletcher, do you think it's acceptable for a husband to hit his wife? No. Then why did you do it? I told you, I was stressed. I reacted poorly. You reacted poorly. Is that the same explanation you gave Jennifer when you broke her wrist? Kozlowski objected. Judge Brennan sustained it, but the jury had heard it. Morrison pressed on. He asked about the guns Marcus had lied about, the letter he'd sent through Lily, the pattern of controlling behavior Naomi had described. Marcus got defensive. His calm facade started cracking. He raised his voice. He interrupted. He glared, and the jury saw it. They saw the anger underneath the polish. When Morrison was done, Marcus stepped down. His face was red. His hands were shaking. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they came back, the foreman read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Marcus's face went blank. Sharon, sitting behind him, made a sound like a wounded animal. Naomi gripped my hand so hard my fingers went numb. Judge Brennan set sentencing for 2 weeks later. Marcus Fletcher was sentenced on July 2nd, 2026. It was a Friday morning, humid and grey with the promise of afternoon thunderstorms. The courtroom was full again. Reporters, advocates from the Domestic Violence Centre, people from town who'd followed the case. I noticed Mrs. Patterson from next door, sitting 3 rows back. I noticed Karen from the Supervised Visitation Centre. I noticed 2 other women I'd never seen before, sitting together, watching Marcus with expressions I couldn't quite read. Judge Brennan called the court to order at 9 o'clock sharp. James Morrison spoke first. He asked for the maximum sentence allowed under North Carolina law for assault on a female and the additional charges, 3 years. He cited the pattern of abuse, the violation of the protective order, the lies about the firearms, the lack of genuine remorse. Your Honor, Morrison said, the defendant has shown us exactly who he is. He's shown us through his actions toward 2 different wives. He's shown us through his willingness to manipulate his own daughter to violate a court order. He's shown us through his testimony in this trial, where he minimized, denied, and blamed everyone but himself. This is not a man who made one mistake. This is a man who has built his life around control and violence, and who will continue that pattern unless this court intervenes decisively. Then Kozlowski spoke. He asked for the minimum sentence, citing Marcus's lack of prior criminal record, his community involvement, his completion of anger management classes, his cooperation with the court. Your Honor, Kozlowski said, my client has already lost his marriage, his home, and his reputation. He's facing a custody battle that will likely severely limit his access to his daughter. He's been held accountable in numerous ways. Further punishment serves no rehabilitative purpose. Then Judge Brennan asked if Marcus wanted to make a statement. He stood. He looked at the judge, then at the jury box, now empty, then at Naomi. His expression was hard to read. Not angry, exactly. More like resigned. I want to apologize, he said, to my wife, to my daughter, to the court. I made serious mistakes, and I take full responsibility for them. I've been attending counseling and working on understanding my behavior. I hope that in time, I can prove to everyone that I'm capable of change. The words were right. The tone was right. But there was something missing. Some fundamental understanding of what he'd actually done. He was reading from a script his lawyer had given him, hitting all the required notes, but none of it felt real. Judge Brennan seemed to sense it too. She looked at him for a long moment. Mr. Fletcher, she said, I've presided over many domestic violence cases in my 18 years on the bench. I've seen genuine remorse, and I've seen performance. What I'm seeing from you today is performance. You're saying the words you think I want to hear, but I don't believe you understand the gravity of what you've done. You terrorized your wife for 7 years. You made your home a place of fear. You used your daughter as a weapon. And even now, standing before this court, after being convicted by a jury of your peers, you're more concerned with managing your image than taking genuine accountability. She paused. Marcus's face had gone pale. The evidence in this case paints a clear picture of a man who believes he is entitled to control the women in his life through whatever means necessary. Your first wife left you after you broke her wrist. Rather than examining your behavior, you simply found a new victim. This pattern will continue unless you face real consequences. She looked down at her papers. I'm sentencing you to 3 years in the North Carolina Department of Corrections. I'm also ordering you to complete a batterer's intervention program while incarcerated and to have no contact with the victim or her family for 5 years following your release. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. The bailiff came forward. Marcus was handcuffed. Sharon stood up in the gallery and said something I couldn't quite hear. The bailiff told her to sit down. As they led Marcus out, he looked at Naomi one more time. She looked back. I couldn't read her expression. Relief? Sadness? Something more complicated. Then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, we were met by a small crowd of reporters. Naomi kept walking, head down. I stayed close to her. But before we reached the car, one of the 2 women I'd seen in the courtroom approached us. Mrs. Fletcher? Naomi stopped. Yes? My name is Rebecca Owens. I was married to Marcus Fletcher for 9 months in 2015. I left after he put me in the hospital. Naomi's eyes went wide. 9 months. But Jennifer was... I was between Jennifer and you. I'm number 2 of 3. The other woman stepped forward. She was younger, maybe 25. I'm Hannah Price. I was his girlfriend for 6 months in 2013. He put his hands around my throat during an argument. I was 20 years old. I thought I'd done something wrong. Rebecca said, "We saw the trial coverage. We wanted you to know you weren't alone. We wanted to thank you for having the courage to come forward, because we didn't. We just left and tried to forget." How many of us are there? Naomi asked quietly. I don't know, Rebecca said, but I'd guess we're not the only ones. Hannah nodded. Men like Marcus don't start with their wives. They practice first. They figure out what works. By the time they get married, they're experts. We stood in the courthouse parking lot for 20 minutes, the 5 of us, Naomi, me, Rebecca, Hannah, and a woman named Maria, who'd stopped when she saw us talking and introduced herself as Marcus's girlfriend from college, who'd left after he'd gotten too possessive. 4 women, 4 different years, the same pattern of behavior. We should do something, Rebecca said. Warn people. Make sure this is on record somewhere. Like what? Naomi asked. I don't know. A website? A database? Something so the next woman can Google his name and find out who he really is. Is that legal? Maria asked. Truth is always legal, I said, as long as you stick to facts. We exchanged contact information. Over the next few weeks, Rebecca built a simple website. Nothing fancy, just a page with Marcus's name, his photo, and statements from each of the women who'd been involved with him. Dates, facts, no embellishment. We called it beforeyousayyes.org. The idea was simple, a place where people could search for someone's name and find out if there were any red flags. Other women started adding entries for their abusers. It grew slowly at first, then faster. I don't know if it's made a difference, but I like to think it has. The custody hearing was in August. By then, Patricia had a criminal conviction to point to, Dr. Park's evaluation, Lily's therapy records showing her expressed fear of her father, the protective order violations. Marcus's lawyer argued from prison via video link. It was a weak case, and everyone knew it. Judge Thompson, a different judge, Family Court Division, granted Naomi sole physical and legal custody. Marcus was granted supervised visitation contingent on completion of a batterer's intervention program and a psychological evaluation showing he no longer posed a risk. Until then, no contact. What if he completes the program? Naomi asked Patricia afterward. Then we go back to court and argue that supervised visitation is still the maximum safe contact. But honestly, Naomi, he's in prison for 3 years. Lily will be 10 when he gets out. She'll be old enough to have a stronger voice in what she wants. And if he violates any conditions of his release, we start over. So this isn't over. It's never completely over with people like Marcus. But you've won the major battles. Now it's about maintaining the ground you've gained. We drove home that afternoon through some thunderstorms that made the windshield wipers work overtime. Lily was at a friend's house for a play date, her first in months. She was starting to act like a child again instead of a small adult worried about adult problems. I need to find a job, Naomi said. A real job, full time. I can't live with you forever. You can live with me as long as you need to. I know, but I need to build something for myself. For Lily. We need our own space. Okay, what kind of job? I don't know. The library only has part-time positions available. Maybe I could go back to school, get my PhD, teach. That's a good idea. Or maybe I could do something completely different. Something I've never considered before. Like what? She was quiet for a moment. Rain hammered the roof of the car. I want to help other women. Women like me. I want to do what Amanda Reynolds does. Be an advocate. You'd be good at that. You think? I know it. She looked out the window at the grey sky and the water running down the glass. I spent 7 years being afraid. I don't want to be afraid anymore. Then don't be. It's not that simple. No, but it's that important. In September, Naomi enrolled in a certification program for domestic violence advocates. It was a 6-month program through the community college, mostly online with some weekend workshops. She studied at my kitchen table while Lily did homework. She read books about trauma and recovery. She learned about safety planning and legal advocacy and the psychology of abuse. In October, we had our first Sunday dinner that felt normal. Not the same as before. We could never go back to that. But something new and better. Naomi made pot roast. I made mashed potatoes the way Lily actually liked them. We set the table with real plates and cloth napkins. We said grace. We ate and talked and laughed. And for those 2 hours, we were just a family sharing a meal. No one slapped anyone. No one clapped. No one got hurt. It was the most peaceful dinner I'd had in years. In November, I got a phone call. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Mrs. Pritchard? A woman's voice. Young. Scared. Yes, my name is Melissa Carter. I don't know if you remember me. I was friends with Naomi in high school. I did remember. Vaguely. A quiet girl with dark hair. What can I do for you, Melissa? I heard about what happened with Naomi, with Marcus. It was all over town. She paused. I need to ask you something. Okay. How did you know? How did you know to call the police? Because I saw him hit her. I mean, before that. Did you see signs? Did you know something was wrong? Looking back, yes, there were signs. But I didn't understand what they meant at the time. What kind of signs? I told her. The way Naomi would change around Marcus. The careful navigation, the apologies for things that weren't her fault, the tension. My boyfriend does that, Melissa said quietly. He hasn't hit me, but he yells. He punches walls. He tells me I'm stupid. He checks my phone. He doesn't like it when I see my friends. Last week, he squeezed my arm so hard I had bruises, but he said it was my fault for trying to walk away when he was talking to me. Melissa, that's abuse. But he hasn't hit me. Abuse isn't just hitting. It's control. It's fear. It's making you feel like you're always walking on eggshells. She was crying now. I don't know what to do. Do you have somewhere safe to go? My parents live here, but I'm embarrassed. I don't want them to know I ended up in this situation. There's no shame in being in an abusive relationship. The only shame is in people who choose to abuse others. What if I leave and he comes after me? Then you call the police, just like I did, just like Naomi should have done years ago if someone had told her it was okay. We talked for 40 minutes. I gave her Amanda Reynolds' number. I told her about the resources available. I told her about the protective order process. I told her that leaving was scary, but that staying was scarier in the long run. Thank you, she said before she hung up. Thank you for not telling me I'm overreacting. You're not overreacting. You're recognizing danger. Trust that instinct. 2 weeks later, I got another call from Melissa. She'd left. She'd filed for a protective order. She was staying with her parents. She was scared, but safe. I keep thinking about Naomi, she said, about how brave she was to testify, to tell everyone what happened. You're brave too. I don't feel brave. Brave people rarely do. They just do what needs to be done anyway. In December, Naomi finished her certification program. She started volunteering at the Domestic Violence Resource Center, working the hotline 2 nights a week. She sat in a small office with a headset and a computer, talking to women who were where she'd been a year ago. I picked her up after her first shift. She got in the car and just sat there for a moment. How was it? I asked. Hard. I talked to 6 women tonight. 3 were calling from bathrooms, hiding from their partners. 1 was in a hotel room with her kids, trying to figure out where to go next. 1 was still in her house, planning her escape. One called just to hear someone tell her she wasn't crazy. Did you help them? I hope so. I gave them information, resources, phone numbers. Mostly I just listened. That's helping. I kept thinking, that could have been me. If you hadn't called 911 that night, I might be the one hiding in a bathroom making this call. But you're not. You're on the other side now. You're the person helping. She looked at me. How do you do it? How do you hear these stories and not break? You do break, just not in front of them. You save that for later. Is that what you did? After that night at dinner? Yes. I never saw you break. That's because I waited until you were asleep. Then I sat in my room and cried for about 2 hours. She took my hand. Thank you. For what? For breaking in private so you could be strong for me. We sat in the parking lot while snow started to fall. Light, gentle snow that wouldn't stick. The kind that makes everything look clean for a little while. On February 15th, 2027, exactly 1 year after Marcus hit Naomi at my dinner table, we had another Sunday dinner. This time it was just the three of us. Me, Naomi, and Lily. Naomi had her own apartment now, a 2-bedroom on the north side of town, but she still came for Sunday dinner. Some traditions were worth keeping. We made pot roast again, partly as a reclamation, partly as a reminder. We set the table. We said grace. We ate. Halfway through the meal, Lily said, "Grammy, remember last year when the police came?" I remember. I was really scared. I know you were, sweetheart. But I'm glad you called them. Miss Sarah says you probably saved Mummy's life. Miss Sarah was Dr. Winters, her therapist. Lily had been seeing her for a year now. She was doing well. Better than well, actually. She was thriving. Your grandma did save my life, Naomi said. In more ways than one. Will Daddy ever come home? Lily asked. We'd been expecting this question. Dr. Winters had warned us it would come eventually. No, honey, Naomi said. Daddy made choices that hurt people, and now he has to live somewhere else. Even when he gets out of jail, he won't live with us. Do I have to see him? Not unless you want to, and not until you're older and can decide for yourself. I don't want to. That's okay. You might change your mind someday, or you might not. Either way is okay. What if he's mad at me? Then that's his problem, not yours. You don't have to manage his feelings. You only have to take care of your own. Lily thought about that while she pushed her mashed potatoes around her plate. Then she said, "Can I have more pot roast?" Just like that. The conversation moved on. After dinner, while Lily was watching a movie, Naomi and I did dishes. I got offered a job, she said. At the resource center? Yes, full-time advocate position. It doesn't pay much, but it has benefits. Insurance. Retirement. Are you going to take it? I think so. It feels like the right next step. Then take it. She handed me a wet plate. I dried it and put it in the cabinet. We worked in comfortable silence for a while. Mum, she said eventually, do you ever regret it? Calling the police that night? Never. Not once. Even though it made everything harder for a while. It made everything harder for a while so it could be better forever. That's not a regret. That's an investment. I regret that I didn't do it myself. That I needed you to do it for me. You did do it yourself. You testified. You fought for custody. You built a new life. You're helping other women now. The fact that I made the first call doesn't diminish everything you did after. Sometimes, I still feel ashamed. Like I should have been stronger. Like I should have left sooner. Shame is a tool abusers use to keep their victims silent. Don't do Marcus's work for him. You survived. That took strength most people can't imagine. She set down the dish she was washing. I saw him yesterday. What? Not in person. On TV. There was a news segment about prison education programs. He was in the background of a shot, sitting in a classroom, just for a second. But I saw him. How did that feel? Strange. He looked older, smaller somehow, like a regular person instead of this monster in my head. He is a regular person, that's the scary part. Monsters are easy to identify. Regular people who do monstrous things are harder. Do you think he'll change? Do you think 3 years in prison will make him different? Honestly? No. Change requires genuine self-reflection and a willingness to see yourself clearly. From what I saw in that courtroom, Marcus is more interested in managing his image than examining his behavior. What about when he gets out? When he gets out, you'll be established in your career. Lily will be older. You'll have years of stability and healing behind you. Whatever he does or doesn't do won't be your problem anymore. I hope you're right. I am. You'll see. We finished the dishes. Through the doorway, we could hear Lily laughing at something in her movie. Normal sounds, happy sounds. "I've been thinking about Mum's last words to me," Naomi said. This confused me for a second, until I realized she was talking about Sharon. We hadn't heard from her in months. Last I'd heard, she'd moved to Tennessee to live with Marcus's older sister. What did she say? That I'd destroyed Marcus's life, his career, his reputation, everything he'd built. And I realized she was right. I did destroy all of that. And I'm not sorry. He built all of it on a foundation of violence and lies. It deserved to be destroyed. Yes, it did. The old me would have felt guilty about that, would have wondered if I was being too harsh, would have tried to find a way to take some of the blame. And the new you? The new me knows that accountability isn't cruelty, it's justice. I hugged her, right there in the kitchen with the dish towel still in my hand. "I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too." In March, I started getting calls. Women from all over the state who'd seen news coverage of Marcus's trial. Women who'd found the website Rebecca had created. Women who were where Naomi had been. Some wanted advice. Some wanted to know how to leave. Some just wanted someone to believe them. I talked to each one. I gave them resources. I told them about Naomi, about how she'd survived and rebuilt. I told them it was possible. One woman, calling from a gas station bathroom at 2 a.m, said, "But what if I can't do it? What if I'm not as strong as your daughter?" "You don't have to be as strong as Naomi," I told her. "You just have to be strong enough to take the first step. Make the call. Ask for help. The rest comes after. What if I fail? Then you try again." The average victim leaves 7 times before they leave for good. Failure isn't permanent unless you stop trying. She called back a week later. She'd left. She'd gone to a shelter. She was terrified, but safe. "Thank you," she said. "You did the hard part. I just answered the phone." "No, you told me it was possible. Sometimes that's enough." In April, Naomi was asked to speak at a domestic violence awareness event at the community center. She almost said no. The idea of standing in front of a room full of people and telling her story terrified her. "You don't have to do it," I said. "I know, but I think I should. I think it might help someone." "Then do it." The night of the event, I sat in the 3rd row with Lily beside me. There were maybe 75 people in the room. Advocates, survivors, law enforcement, community members. Naomi walked to the podium. She wore a grey dress, no makeup to cover anything. The scar from Marcus's ring, where it had cut her cheek during one particularly bad fight, was visible in the bright lights. She spoke for 20 minutes. She told them about the first time Marcus hit her, about the shame she felt, about the years of silence, about the night at my dinner table, about my phone call, about everything that came after. "I used to think strength meant enduring," she said. "I thought if I could just survive, if I could just hold my family together, that made me strong. But real strength isn't endurance, it's action. It's making the choice to stop accepting the unacceptable. It's asking for help when you need it. It's believing that you deserve better, even when someone has spent years convincing you that you don't." She paused, looked out at the audience. "My mother saved my life when she called 911, but I had to save myself every day after that. I had to choose to testify, to fight for custody, to build a new life, to stop being ashamed of what happened to me. Those were my choices. No one could make them for me." When she finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. Naomi stood at the podium with tears running down her face. And I was crying too. And Lily was looking up at me with a confused expression that said she didn't quite understand why everyone was so emotional. "Because your mom is brave," I whispered to her. "And sometimes people need to be reminded that bravery is possible." After the event, 3 women approached Naomi. They each told her quietly that they were in situations like hers. They asked for help. She gave them phone numbers, resources, hope. One of them said, "I've been married for 15 years. I have 3 kids. I don't know how to leave." "You don't have to know the whole path," Naomi told her. "You just have to know the next step. What's one thing you can do tomorrow to move towards safety?" The woman thought. "I could call the hotline, just to talk to someone." "That's perfect. Do that. And then what? And then you'll know what comes next. One step at a time." In June, on what would have been her 9th wedding anniversary, Naomi finalized her divorce. The papers came in the mail on a Tuesday afternoon. She signed them at my kitchen table while Lily was at summer swap. It's over, she said. How does that feel? Like closing a door, like I can breathe again. Good. She folded the papers carefully and put them in an envelope. You know what's strange? I thought I'd feel sad or angry, but mostly I just feel relieved. Relief is appropriate. 9 years. I gave him 9 years of my life. 8 dating and engaged, 7 married. You didn't give them to him. You lived them. You got Lily out of those years. You learned what you don't want. You survived. Those years weren't wasted. I guess not. She went to the mailbox and sent the papers back to her attorney. When she came back inside, she said, I want to plant something. In the backyard. Something that grows. What kind of something? I don't know. A tree, maybe. Something that will still be here in 50 years. We went to the garden centre that afternoon. We bought a young oak tree and planted it in the far corner of my yard. Naomi dug the hole. I held the tree steady. Lily watered it. This is for new beginnings, Naomi said. And for strength, I added. Oak trees are strong, and they live forever, Lily said. Not forever, but a long time. Long enough. In September 2027, I got a call from Detective Vasquez. Marcus was eligible for parole. He'd served 18 months of his 3-year sentence and qualified for early release based on good behavior and completion of the required programs. There will be a parole hearing on October 15th, she said. You and Naomi can submit victim impact statements. You can also attend the hearing if you want. Will he be released? It's impossible to say. The parole board will consider his behavior in prison, his completion of the batterer's intervention program, and whether he has a viable re-entry plan. They'll also consider the victim impact statements and any concerns about public safety. What happens if he's released? The no-contact provisions of the protective order remain in effect. He's prohibited from coming within 500 feet of you or Naomi or Lily. If he violates that, he goes back to prison. After we hung up, I told Naomi. She was at my house for dinner. She'd brought a casserole she'd made in her own kitchen. She set it down on the counter and stood very still. 18 months, she said. That's all. I know. 7 years of abuse, and he serves 18 months. The system isn't perfect. The system is broken. She pulled out a chair and sat heavily. What if they let him out? What if he comes looking for me? Then we call the police, just like before. And what if that's not enough? What if he decides the consequences are worth it? That was the fear that kept both of us up at night. The knowledge that pieces of paper, protective orders, parole conditions, laws, only work if people follow them, and men like Marcus didn't always follow them. We'll be careful, I said. We'll be smart. We'll have a safety plan. I have a safety plan. I have 3 different safety plans. I know which exit to use if he shows up at work. I know which neighbor to run to if he shows up at my apartment. I know to vary my routes and park in well-lit areas and never go anywhere alone. I've been living like this for 18 months, Mom. I'm tired. I sat down across from her. I know. When does it end? When do I get to stop looking over my shoulder? I don't know. She put her head in her hands. I thought the trial would fix it. I thought sending him to prison would make me feel safe. But I still jump when the doorbell rings. I still check the locks 3 times before bed. I still have nightmares. Have you talked to Dr. Winters about this? Naomi saw a therapist now too, different from Lily's therapist, a woman who specialized in trauma recovery. Yes, she says it's normal, PTSD, hypervigilance, the body's way of trying to keep me safe. She says it gets better with time. Does it? Some days. Other days it feels like February 15th all over again. We sat in silence for a while. Outside, the oak tree we'd planted was growing. You could see new growth at the tips of its branches. I'm going to write a statement, Naomi said finally, for the parole board. I'm going to tell them exactly what he did and exactly why he shouldn't be released. Do you want help with it? No. This one I need to do myself. She wrote the statement over the course of a week. 7 pages. Single-spaced. She documented every incident she could remember. Every slap. Every shove. Every cruel word. She described the fear. The isolation, the impact on Lily, the ongoing trauma. At the end, she wrote, Marcus Fletcher is a dangerous man. He's dangerous not because he's obviously violent, but because he's skilled at hiding his violence behind a facade of charm and respectability. He's dangerous because he truly believes he's entitled to control the women in his life. And he's dangerous because he's never taken genuine responsibility for his actions. Completion of a program doesn't mean change. It means he learned what to say. Please don't give him the opportunity to hurt someone else. I wrote a statement too, shorter, more focused on what I'd witnessed and what I believed about Marcus's likelihood of reoffending. We submitted them a week before the hearing. On October 15th, we didn't attend. We'd discussed it and decided our statements were enough. We didn't need to see him, didn't need to give him the satisfaction of our presence. Instead, we waited. The call came at 4:30 in the afternoon. Detective Vasquez. The parole board denied his release. He'll serve the full remaining 18 months of his sentence. Naomi, who'd been pacing my kitchen for the past 2 hours, stopped. They denied it. Yes, your statements were compelling. The board also noted that while Marcus completed the required programs, his participation was described by facilitators as superficial and compliance-focused rather than change-focused. They don't believe he's genuinely addressed the underlying issues that led to his violent behavior. So he stays in prison until July 2028. Then he'll be released with 3 years of supervised probation and the continuing no-contact order. After Vasquez hung up, Naomi sat down. She didn't cry, didn't celebrate, just sat. 18 more months, she said. 18 more months of safety, of time to prepare. And then what? And then we deal with whatever comes next. Together. She nodded slowly. Okay. But I could see the fear still there. The knowledge that this wasn't over, that it might never really be over. That night, after Naomi had gone home and Lily was in bed, I sat in my living room thinking about the past year and a half, about how far we'd come, about how far we still had to go. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mrs. Pritchard? A man's voice this time. Older. Yes? My name is Robert Hayes. I'm a journalist with the Raleigh Observer. I'm working on a story about domestic violence and the criminal justice system. I was hoping I could interview you and your daughter about your experience with Marcus Fletcher's case. Why? Because your case has gotten attention. The fact that you called 911 immediately. The fact that he was actually convicted and sentenced. The fact that multiple victims came forward. It's unusual. Most domestic violence cases never make it to trial. I think your story could help other people understand the reality of these situations. I'll have to talk to Naomi, of course. Here's my number. Call me if you're interested. I told Naomi the next day. She was skeptical. What if it makes things worse? What if it puts us in more danger? How? I don't know. What if Marcus sees it and gets angry? Marcus is in prison, and when he gets out, he's not allowed near you regardless of what's in the newspaper. What if people in town judge me? Some already do. Others support you. A newspaper article won't change that. She thought about it for a few days. Then she called Robert Hayes. The interview took 3 hours. He asked questions. We answered honestly. He took notes and recorded everything with Naomi's permission. The article ran in December. Front page of the Sunday edition. Breaking the silence. How 1911 call changed everything. It was fair, accurate. It told our story without sensationalizing it. It included statistics about domestic violence, quotes from advocates and law enforcement, information about resources. The response was overwhelming. We got letters, dozens of them, some from other survivors saying thank you, some from people saying they had no idea domestic violence was so common, some from women asking for help. One letter came from a man in Ohio. He wrote, "I was like Marcus. I hit my wife. I controlled her. I told myself it was because I loved her, because I wanted what was best for her. Your article made me realize I was wrong. I've started counseling. I've separated from my wife to give her space and safety while I work on myself. I don't know if she'll ever take me back, and she shouldn't if she doesn't want to. But I wanted you to know that sometimes, rarely, men like Marcus can change. It requires complete honesty with yourself and a willingness to dismantle everything you've believed about power and relationships. Most abusers won't do that work, but some of us are trying." Naomi cried when she read that letter. "Do you think it's real? Do you think he's actually changing?" "I don't know, but I hope so, for his wife's sake. I used to hope Marcus would change. I wasted years on that hope. That wasn't wasted. That was human. You loved him. Of course you hoped he could be better. I don't love him anymore. I know. I don't even hate him anymore. Nothing him. He's just a person who used to be in my life and isn't anymore. That's healing. In January 2028, Naomi was promoted to senior advocate at the Domestic Violence Resource Center. She supervised 3 other advocates now. She developed training programs. She spoke at conferences. One day she came home from work and told me about a call she'd taken. A woman called the hotline. She'd been married for 23 years, 3 kids, all grown. Her husband had been abusing her the entire marriage. She said she saw your picture in the newspaper article and recognized you. Said you were her librarian when she was a kid in the 80s. What was her name? She didn't want to say, but she said seeing you, a grandmother, a regular person, take action gave her courage. She left last week. She's staying with her daughter. She just wanted me to tell you thank you. I didn't do anything for her. You modeled what it looks like to refuse to look away. That's not nothing. In March, Lily turned 9. We had a birthday party at my house. Her friends came. We ate cake. We played games. Normal, happy childhood things. At one point, one of her friends asked, "Where's your dad?" Lily said, "He lives somewhere else. It's just me and my mum and my grandma. Doesn't he visit?" "No." "Why not?" Lily looked at Naomi. Naomi nodded slightly. "Because he made bad choices and isn't safe to be around," Lily said. Then, matter-of-factly, "Can we play freeze tag now?" Just like that. The conversation moved on. Later, after the party, Naomi said, "She's going to have questions eventually, real questions, about what happened and why, and you'll answer them honestly when she's ready. I hope I say the right things." There aren't always right things, just honest things. In June, I got another call, this one from Amanda Reynolds. "Eleanor, I have a favor to ask. We're starting a program for family members of domestic violence survivors. Parents, siblings, adult children, people who want to help but don't know how. Would you be willing to speak at the first meeting? Share your experience? What would I say? Whatever you want. What you saw. What you did. What you wish you'd known earlier. There's no script." I thought about it, then agreed. The meeting was in a church basement on a Thursday night. 23 people attended, mostly women, a few men, all ages. I stood at a small podium and told them about that Sunday dinner, about the slap, about Sharon's clapping, about my 911 call. Then I told them about what I wished I'd done differently. I wish I'd asked more questions earlier. I wish I'd trusted my instincts when I saw the red flags, instead of talking myself out of them. I wish I'd told Naomi explicitly that she could come to me if she needed help, instead of assuming she knew. I wish I'd learned the signs of abuse sooner. A woman in the second row raised her hand. "But how do you ask those questions without offending your daughter, without making her defensive? You ask anyway. You say, 'I've noticed you seem stressed when your partner is around. Is everything okay?' You say, 'I'm worried about you. I'm here if you need to talk.' You risk the defensiveness because the alternative is silence, and silence protects abusers. Another hand. What if they deny it? What if they say everything's fine? Then you believe them in the moment, but you stay alert. You check in regularly. You make it clear the door is always open. And if you see violence, you don't wait for permission to act. You call the police. You intervene. Because waiting for the victim to ask for help can mean waiting until it's too late." A man in the back said, "My daughter is in an abusive marriage. I've begged her to leave. She won't. It's been 5 years. How do you keep trying when they won't listen?" This was the hardest question, the one I didn't have a good answer for. "You keep showing up," I said. "You keep offering support without judgment. You learn about the cycle of abuse, so you understand why leaving is so difficult. You don't give ultimatums or cut them off, because that just isolates them further, and you accept that you can't save them. They have to save themselves. All you can do is be ready to help when they're ready to be helped." The man's eyes were wet. What if they never get ready? What if he kills her before she leaves? Then you'll have done everything you could. You can't control another person's choices, not the abusers and not the victims. You can only control your own. Stay connected. Stay supportive. And if you see violence, act immediately. Don't wait. After the meeting, people came up to talk to me, to thank me, to ask more questions, to tell me about their situations. One woman, probably in her 60s, said, "My best friend is being abused by her husband. I've known for years. I've never said anything because I didn't want to lose the friendship. After hearing you tonight, I realize I've been complicit in her suffering. I'm calling her tomorrow." "Good," I said. Tell her you're worried. Tell her you're there for her. Tell her it's not her fault. What if she gets angry? Then she gets angry. That's not the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing is staying silent and wishing you'd spoken up after it's too late. In July 2028, Marcus was released from prison. We got the notification from Detective Vasquez. He'd be on supervised probation for 3 years. He was required to check in with his probation officer weekly, maintain employment, abstain from alcohol and drugs, and have no contact with Naomi or her family. "Where is he living?" Naomi asked. "With his mother in Tennessee. She moved back to the area specifically so he'd have a place to go." "How far is Tennessee?" "Her house is about 40 miles from here. Far enough that he's unlikely to show up randomly, but close enough that it's possible. So we just wait and see if he follows the rules?" Essentially, yes. Naomi didn't sleep well for weeks after that. She jumped at sounds. She checked the locks compulsively. She varied her route to work every day. But Marcus didn't show up, didn't call, didn't try to contact her. Months passed. 6, 9, a year. In July 2029, exactly 3 years after the assault at my dinner table, we had another Sunday dinner. This one was different. Naomi brought her new boyfriend, David. He was a teacher at Lily's school, quiet, kind, respectful. He'd known about Naomi's history from the beginning. She'd told him on their second date, not wanting any secrets, and he'd responded with compassion instead of judgment. David helped set the table. He complimented my pot roast. He asked Lily about her swimming lessons. He treated Naomi like she was precious, without treating her like she was fragile. At one point, I watched him put his hand on Naomi's shoulder, gentle, asking permission with his eyes first, and she leaned into the touch instead of flinching away from it. Progress. After dinner, while David and Lily were outside looking at the oak tree we'd planted, Naomi helped me with dishes. "He's good," I said. "He is. Are you happy?" She thought about that. "Yes. Most days, yes. I still have bad days. Days when the fear comes back. Days when I don't trust my own judgment about people. But more and more, I have good days. That's all any of us can ask for." You know what's strange? I thought I'd never be able to trust another man. I thought Marcus had broken that part of me permanently. But David makes it easy. He's patient. He listens. He respects my boundaries. He doesn't try to rush me. That's what healthy relationships look like. I didn't know. I thought what Marcus and I had was normal. I thought all relationships involved that level of fear and control. A lot of people think that, because they've never seen anything different. She handed me a wet plate. I want Lily to see something different. I want her to grow up knowing what healthy love looks like, so she'll recognize it when she finds it, or recognize the absence of it, and know to walk away. You're teaching her that, every day. I hope so. In October, I got a call from Melissa Carter. Remember her? The woman who'd called me 2 years earlier, scared and unsure. "Mrs. Pritchard, I wanted you to know I'm getting married. Congratulations." Not to him, to someone new, someone kind, someone who makes me feel safe. I'm so glad. I wanted to thank you for answering the phone that night, for telling me it was okay to leave, for believing me. You did the hard work. We all did the hard work. That's what I'm learning. It takes a whole community to help someone escape abuse. It takes people willing to answer phones at 2 in the morning, people willing to call 911 when they see violence, people willing to believe survivors, people willing to offer jobs and apartments and childcare and hope. You were part of my community, so thank you. After we hung up, I thought about that word, community. That's what we'd built, wasn't it? Naomi and I and Rebecca and Hannah and Amanda and Detective Vasquez and Patricia and Dr. Winters and all the women who'd called the hotline and all the people who'd written letters after the newspaper article. A community of people who refused to look away. In December 2029, Naomi was invited to speak at a national conference on domestic violence prevention. She asked me to come with her. We flew to Chicago, stayed in a hotel with a view of Lake Michigan, attended workshops and presentations. When it was Naomi's turn to speak, I sat in the audience with 700 other people. She stood at a podium in a conference room with professional lighting and a PowerPoint presentation. She told our story, but this time, she told it differently than before. This time, she focused not on the violence, but on the recovery, on what happened after, on how she'd built a new life, on the community that had supported her, on the work she was doing now to help others. Domestic violence thrives in silence, she said. It depends on victims being too ashamed to speak and bystanders being too uncomfortable to act. Every time someone breaks that silence, whether it's a victim disclosing abuse, a family member calling 911, or a friend asking, "Are you okay?" they chip away at the foundation that lets abuse continue. She clicked to the next slide. It was a photo of the oak tree in my backyard, tall now, strong, with branches spreading wide. This tree was planted on the day my divorce was finalized. It was a symbol of new beginnings, but it's also a reminder that growth is slow. You don't plant a tree and get shade the next day. You water it, you protect it, you give it time. Recovery from trauma is the same. It's slow, it's hard. Some days you can't see any progress at all. But if you keep tending to it, keep showing up, keep choosing growth over stagnation, eventually you look up and realize you've built something strong enough to weather storms. The audience was silent, listening. My mother saved my life when she picked up her phone on February 15th, 2026, but I've had to save myself every day since. That's the part we don't talk about enough. The aftermath, the years of therapy and legal battles and hypervigilance, and slowly relearning how to trust. The work of rebuilding your sense of self after someone has spent years dismantling it. That work is unglamorous. It's exhausting, but it's also where the real transformation happens. She talked for 40 minutes. When she finished, the standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, women came up to talk to her, to thank her, to share their own stories. One woman, probably in her 30s, said, "I've been out for 6 years. I thought I should be over it by now. Hearing you say recovery is slow made me feel less broken." "You're not broken," Naomi told her. "You're healing. Those are different things." On the flight home, Naomi was quiet, looking out the window at clouds. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. "How far we've come. How far we still have to go." "What do you mean?" "Marcus is still out there, still on probation, still potentially dangerous. In 2 years, his probation will end. The no-contact order will expire. Legally, there will be nothing preventing him from contacting me, but you'll still be protected by stalking laws, harassment laws, laws that only work if they're enforced. If he's determined enough, smart enough, patient enough, laws won't stop him. You can't live your life waiting for him to show up." "I know. Most days I don't. Most days I'm just living. But then I'll see a truck that looks like his, or someone with his build, or I'll get a hang-up call, and everything comes rushing back. That's the trauma. It's trying to keep you safe by staying alert. But you're safe, Naomi. You've built a good life. You have people who love you. You have resources. You have knowledge. You're not the same woman who sat at my dinner table in 2026. "No, I'm not." She turned from the window to look at me. "Thank you for that." "For what?" "For being the person who refused to look away. For being the first domino that fell and started everything else falling into place. You would have gotten out eventually. Maybe, or maybe I'd be dead. We'll never know. But what I do know is that on the worst night of my life, you made a choice that changed everything, and I will spend the rest of my life being grateful for that." I took her hand. We flew home through clouds that looked like cotton, and I thought about how something as simple as picking up a phone and dialing 3 numbers could change the trajectory of a life. 911. 3 numbers. 1 decision. Everything after that was just following through. It's February 15th, 2031 now. 5 years since that Sunday dinner. I'm 69 years old. Naomi is 36. Lily is 11. We still have Sunday dinners. Every week. Sometimes it's just us. Sometimes David joins us. He and Naomi are engaged now, planning a quiet wedding for June. Sometimes it's a bigger group, with friends from the resource center or Lily's swim team. The oak tree in my backyard is taller than the house now. Marcus served his probation without incident. The no-contact order expired last year. Legally, there's nothing preventing him from reaching out to Naomi anymore, but he hasn't. We heard through the small-town grapevine that he's working construction in Tennessee, that he's dating someone new, that Sharon died last spring of a stroke. I wonder sometimes if he's changed, if he's hurting his new girlfriend the way he hurt Jennifer and Rebecca and Hannah and Naomi, or if losing everything, his marriage, his daughter, his freedom, his reputation, his mother, finally made him look at himself honestly. I don't know. I hope for his new girlfriend's sake that he has, but hope doesn't make it true. What I do know is this. Naomi is thriving. She's the director of the Domestic Violence Resource Center now. She supervises 15 advocates. She's written a training manual that's used across the state. She speaks at conferences twice a year. Lily is in 6th grade. She's on the honor roll. She swims competitively. She has friends. She laughs easily. She's seeing Dr. Winters less now, once a month, instead of once a week. She doesn't ask about Marcus anymore. David treats them both with steady kindness. He's patient with Naomi's bad days. He understands when she needs space. He's never once made her feel less than whole. Last week, I got a call. Another woman. Another story. Another person asking how to escape. I read about you in an article, she said, from 2027, about how you called the police when your son-in-law hit your daughter. I need to know, was it worth it? All the chaos that came after? The legal battles and the fear and the uncertainty? Was making that call worth it? I thought about the question, really thought about it. Yes, I said, because the alternative was watching my daughter die slowly, piece by piece, year by year. The alternative was becoming complicit in her suffering. The alternative was teaching my granddaughter that this is just how relationships are. So yes, it was worth it. Every difficult moment, every fear, every battle, it was worth it. What if I call and it makes things worse? It might, in the short term. But you know what's worse than short-term chaos? Long-term death. Not always physical death, though sometimes that too, but the death of hope, the death of self, the death of the possibility of something better. She was quiet for a moment. I'm calling from my car. He's at work. He thinks I'm at the grocery store. I have 20 minutes before I need to be home. Then use those 20 minutes. Call the hotline. The number is 1-800-799-7233. They're available right now. They'll help you make a safety plan. What if I can't do it? What if I'm too afraid? Then try again tomorrow. Keep trying until you can. But please, try. You deserve to feel safe in your own home. You deserve to live without fear. How do you know? You don't know me. No, but I know that no one deserves to be abused. Not you, not anyone. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time. I don't know if she called the hotline. I don't know if she made a safety plan. I don't know if she left. But I know I answered the phone. I know I told her the truth. I know I gave her the number. The rest is up to her. That's the thing about domestic violence. The thing we don't always talk about. You can't save someone who isn't ready to be saved. You can't force someone to leave. You can't make their choices for them. But you can refuse to be complicit in their suffering. You can answer the phone. You can call 911. You can offer resources. You can believe them. You can stand beside them when they're ready to stand up for themselves. You can refuse to look away. That night at Sunday dinner, I looked around my table, at Naomi, glowing with the kind of happiness that comes from building a life on your own terms. At David, solid and kind and safe. At Lily, still young but growing into someone strong. At the empty chair where Marcus used to sit, still empty, always will be. Grammy, Lily said, tell the story about the oak tree again. You've heard it 100 times. I know, but I like it. So I told it. About the day we planted it. About what it represented. About how slow growth is still growth. And now look, Lily said, pointing out the window. It's huge. Yes, it is. Will you tell me the other story? She asked. About that Sunday when the police came. Naomi looked at me. We'd been waiting for this, knowing it would come, that Lily would eventually want to understand what had happened in full detail. What do you want to know? Naomi asked. Everything. The whole truth. I'm old enough now. So we told her. Not every detail, but the honest version. About the abuse. About my 911 call. About the trial and the custody battle and the years of therapy and fear. Lily listened quietly. When we finished, she said, Grammy, you were really brave. So was your mother. I know. But you started it. You made the first move. Sometimes that's all it takes. One person willing to make the first move. Later, after everyone had gone home and I was alone in my quiet house, I thought about that. About first moves. About the butterfly effect of decisions. If I hadn't called 911 that night, what would have happened? Would Naomi still be married to Marcus? Would Lily be growing up in a house full of violence? Would Naomi be alive at all? I'll never know, because I did call, and that call set everything else in motion. That's the thing about courage. It doesn't always feel like courage in the moment. Sometimes it just feels like doing the only thing you can live with yourself for doing. I picked up my phone. I dialed the hotline number I'd memorized by now. When the advocate answered, I said, "This is Eleanor Pritchard. I'm calling to volunteer, to answer phones, to be there for the women who call at 2 in the morning from gas station bathrooms, to be there the way people were there for my daughter." "We'd love to have you," the advocate said. "Training starts next month." So that's where I am now, 69 years old, a grandmother, a volunteer, a person who refuses to look away. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in Naomi's story, please know, it's not your fault. You didn't cause this. You can't fix him. And you deserve better. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, someone who loves a victim, someone who sees the signs, someone who's wondering whether to act, please act. Call the police. Offer support. Refuse to be complicit in silence. And if you're reading this, and you're the person making the call from the bathroom or the car or the closet, scared and unsure and wondering if you can survive this, you can. I've seen it. I've watched my daughter do it. I've watched dozens of other women do it. You can survive this. You can build something new. You can heal. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-79-97233. They're available 24 hours a day, every day. They're confidential. They're free. They're waiting for your call. Make the call. Take the first step. Let someone help you. You deserve to feel safe. You deserve to live without fear. You deserve to have Sunday dinners where no one gets hurt and everyone goes home whole. You deserve better, and it starts with one phone call, just like mine did, 5 years ago, at 6:47 p.m., when I picked up my phone and refused to look away.